It's common practice by anyone in the Traitor Town community to have an opinion about each map in the game. And one thread I've noticed time and time again is how little people seem to agree with each other. This isn't new to Traitor Town, mind you, but it has definitely made me think about why is it that I like certain maps in the game. If I were to narrow down what it takes to make a map fun for me, then it would be how balanced the map is. In order for me to have fun, a map has to both play well as an innocent and as a traitor. My main reasoning is that if the map is two-sided one way or the other, then it can feel boring or trivial to be the class that has the advantage, or an infuriating headache if you end up as the latter. But because TT isn't a traditional shooter, balancing is a little bit more complicated than just giving each team the same stuff. The game is naturally rather inno-sided, as they outnumber the traitors 4-1, and in a lobby of intelligent people, the moment a traitor tries to start murdering, the rest of the innocents will know to mow them down. Granted, in a straight 1v1, traitors have the advantage, with body armor or the various traitor weapons they can buy. But health is a commodity in this game, and a traitor will usually have less health over time the more fights they take on. The only way for a traitor to reliably win rounds is by utilizing their one main advantage, the element of surprise. If a traitor is spotted whilst killing, it becomes extremely difficult for them to get close to the innocents. But if they kill without being seen, then there's no reason to suspect them enough to shoot. And this element is the traitor's one true advantage. It also just so happens that this is a feature that cannot be tweaked by changing a value or moving a slider. The only way to nerf or buff a traitor's ability to stealth is by changing the actual layout of the map they play in. So it stands to reason then that a map being T-sided is one that has a lot of places that lets them kill without being seen. Examples of this will be flanking corridors that let them escape from the scene of a crime, sightlines that allow them to take key targets from hidden locations, and cover, so in the event that they do get spotted, they can escape without taking much damage. Unfortunately, many maps in the game right now don't feel like they are designed with the traitors in mind, and as a result feel extremely inno-sided. If a map was a completely wide open empty box, it would be the most innocent-sided map in the game, as no traitor would be able to realistically win unless the innocents RDM'd each other. And right now, quite a few maps in this game aren't too far removed from that reality. I'm going to cover every single map in the game, with timestamps so you can jump to the one you want, and talk about the elements that I feel are either too traitor-sided or too innocent-sided, with my main reasons as to why. To keep this video under 40 minutes long though, I'm only going to cover the most egregious spots on each map, and give reasoning as to why they should be changed. I've grouped the maps into 4 categories. The first category would be maps that are easy to fix. The second being maps that are bad, but can at least be improved somewhat with a few changes. The third category is reserved for maps that are so awful that they probably require complete restructuring in order to fix. And lastly, maps that I deem to actually be well balanced.
I think the first thing we should really test is construction. So if you come downstairs. Right, okay. So basically, here's the first thing. How do you get across the road without me seeing you?
Well, if I'm traitor, the only way I can figure out how to get around you is by going to T room and teleporting on you to get as close as possible.
Let's demonstrate what the T teleport's like, right?
Yeah, so it spawns me there, and then I come up here, go up ladder.
Right, be quiet.
Yeah,
I can just see you coming. I can hear you coming.
Construction in 67th Way is a perfect example of a sightline camping spot. Plant an innocent or detective here, and now no traitor can approach them without seeming the slight bit suspicious. There are 2 ladders you must climb if you want to get up to the roof, so if you do manage to get close, anyone camping here will hear you, since you cannot climb ladders without making noise. Sniping is the only real valuable counter, as there's plenty of spots you can peek from if they don't manage to see you. But if they get alerted to your presence, it's rather easy to back off behind the apex of the roof for easy cover. If I was to change anything about construction, I would light up the interior better, so anyone inside it is easily exposed to counter-sniping. I would also like it if prison teleport wasn't made completely useless by pressing the lock button on this cell, because it could be a viable counter-sniping option if this window was widened a bit to let them try and take you from prison roof. Right now, gun store roof is the only good counter-sniping spot, as it lets you see behind the apex of the roof, but it leaves you extremely exposed. Initially, construction didn't even have a teleport to it, but when barn got removed, I suggested that Hoonty move the old barn teleport to construction, because even back then I noticed just how strong of a camping spot construction really was. Speaking of barn, the second spot on 67th Way that I want to call out is this access tunnel. It used to lead to barn back when it existed, but since barn is gone now, the door has been locked and the radio placed next to it. This tunnel is really out of the way, so people like to camp here knowing that only a traitor would come for them due to radar. Due to the long segmented nature of this corridor, it's easy to close the door and then listen for it to open and then immediately open fire before taking cover around this corner. There are no props here, so Poltergeist is useless. C4 doesn't reach nearly far enough, and the corridors are too wide for a knife throw to be viable. Even the AWP doesn't stand a chance here, as these hallways are the perfect range for an M16. What's worse, put a detective here and give him the teleporter. He can kite the traitor down to the other end and then just teleport behind him and block off his escape. Or, since the round timer favors the innocents, they could just teleport to a random spot on the opposite end of the map and disappear, making it extremely annoying for the traitors to track them down. This tunnel serves no purpose other than to allow for an easy advantage for innocent or dead campers, so I suggest just removing it entirely. If anything, at least remove this part so that a C4 planted outside the tunnel can flush the whole thing out. In the past, I have seen traders lose rounds due to this kind of abuse, so if anything got changed, it should be this. The last part of 67th Way I'm going to cover is the tea room. The amount of times I've played rounds in 12 player or 24 player where someone just hides inside here for the whole 6 minutes is honestly frustrating. It's the sole reason why I asked Hoonty to reduce 12 players round timer from 6 down to 4, as I found that rounds that last more than 4 minutes almost always last that long because of bad players, campers, or people stalling. I want tea room to be shortened considerably, as I don't think these teleports need a dedicated cavern, and my reasoning for this is that it's common practice to plant a C4 here only to walk into the other room, then head back once it detonates. There's so much space that traitors can cheaply kill anyone in basement without having to risk their necks leaving. This would seem to make the map heavily inno-sided, but I disagree, since there's plenty of teleports to choose from, and most of the time players such as myself will only use tea room to punish anybody testing, by planting here, waiting as long as possible, and then closing the door so that they are all trapped inside tester by the time it goes off. Shortening the room will at least force the laziest of traders to put a little bit more thought into their C4 spamming shenanigans.
No, just like go on the ladder. Just go on the ladder. I can't.
You can't. You literally cannot leave.
If I had to rank the worst camping spot in the game, it would be Wastelands Bunker. This is a unique case among all the maps because of one simple reason. Wasteland's door is controlled by a button on the inside. If an innocent manages to get inside, they can prevent anyone else from going in. It's common practice for innocents to hide in random parts of a map, using the logic that anyone who finds them must be a traitor using the radar. This plan usually falls apart because players like me stumble across them whilst trying to find corpses, but this just won't happen with Wasteland's Bunker. Once the door's locked, no innocents are able to get inside without using the teleporter or if the button gets pressed. Now traders can get inside, but the issue is that their only route in is through this extremely narrow vent. Bunker holds numerous incendiary grenades, so keeping it shut isn't an issue. There are no props near the vent, so Poltergeist isn't an option. And I'd mention the Game Pass weapons, but I'm not too hot on the idea that maps can become balanced if you pay for it. C4 would be the only viable way to flush Bunker out, but since it's so far below the map, it actually requires 2 C4 to kill anyone inside it, whether you plant safely in the toxic water above, or next to the door, hoping that they don't just open it and shoot you. Which is a shame because Wastelands is one of my favorite new maps. Bunker is the only part that drags down the rest of the experience. You know a map is good when I can actually try hard as a traitor in 24 player without relying on C4 or Pult, while still getting a considerable kill streak. Luckily, Nalahan is already thinking of reworking it, and he has said that he wants to add more entrances as well as move it elsewhere. I'd be happy with just removing it, but if I was to give one suggestion, it would be to remove this button mechanism entirely. Make it so that innocents can enter the bunker at will. Yeah, it does defeat the purpose of a bunker, but I personally think gameplay takes precedent over continuity.
Something tells me that that walk path was not intended. It does not look like it was intended. Anyway.
That didn't even do damage to me, so that's not even an option.
I think Jailbreak is one of the better maps in the game, in spite of what the rest of the community thinks, but there is one part that irks me, and that would be Helipad. There is this exposed part of the cliffside that people can easily reach that is an extremely strong camping spot. It's completely dark and in a usually unexplored part of the map, so the hide and seek meta of baiting traders with radar works well here. This fence cannot be shot through, so the camper can see when people arrive. There are explosive barrels that can be placed here for 1v1 purposes, and if a detective camps here, just planting a C4 next to the fence is ineffective, as they can just teleport up. An easy fix would be to put this fence in the bounds folder, as it lets bullets travel through, but not props and players. Alternatively, you could move this fence here to cover this lip and just block off the cliffside entirely. But one thing I would like to mention is that this window above it belongs to the cafeteria, and the shutters here can actually be opened if you press this button. So it would seem like this is an excellent way to counter this camping spot if it wasn't for the fact that there's an invisible wall preventing you from peeking over the lip. Hoonty, please fix.
The bathtub.
I love the bathtub. The bathtub is funny. Try and check my corpse.
I can't because it's in the bathtub. That's
Exactly.
amazing.
It's the best thing.
After a day of building what would become Villa for Archipelago, I noticed something was off when I playtested it. The whole building I had created just felt too large, like someone took a regular Traitor Town map and grew it several studs. It wasn't noticeable enough in the editor, but in-game it definitely was a problem. And Winterhaus is a map that feels the exact same way, except this time it's the entire map. Now, I would personally like it if Winterhaus was shrunk to proper proportions, but I do want to focus on some parts that I think would still need fixing if that change was ever made. Ski Lift is too easy to camp as it currently stands. With only 2 entrances, it's rare that innocents ever come down here, so the hide and seek camp method works wonders. There is a trader teleport next to this tree, but the innocents have a supply of explosive barrels here that they can just use. And the staircase is so long that an M16 or sniper will keep anyone from coming down, as there's literally no cover the whole way down. To fix this, I would just shrink the staircase entirely, and maybe add a new flank route cave to give the campers more to think about. One common thread with camping spots in this game for the innocents is that they almost always have one entrance or exit. And whilst any room can technically be a camping spot, it gets problematic when you have such a large example as this one. The only viable option to counter this that I know of is to drop a dumpster down the stairs then bolt it, which is actually quite funny now that I think about it. Another part that needs fixing might be observatory. The slits on the side aren't really wide enough for counter sniping, and the inside is really dark. Again, the T-teleport here is practically useless as the innocent can just watch it like a hawk, and if they try to take the ladder, then the innocent will hear them come up. Which is a pretty common camping method, by the way. Hoonty, please add WD-40 to the game so you can climb ladders silently.
This part is just kind of cringe because you can see all the way over there. You can then come over here, see anything going on down there.
And if you have a shotgun and you don't have any other way to engage, you could just do the following. I'm in. I've done that so many times where I just jump through that window and attack everyone and nobody for some reason can deal with it.
My map as it stands in game doesn't really suffer from traditional camping spots as much as it suffers from just how bloated and large the whole thing feels. I never really find myself having fun playing it, as the map is so large that I always feel like I'm in the dark as an innocent, but paradoxically have no cover to make any escapes if I'm a traitor. And the cherry on top is Hotel Roof, the most commonly stood on part of the map that is so difficult for a traitor to take without going head on. When I first made the villa part of the map, I had noticed that it felt too large, so spent the day after rebuilding the whole thing from scratch to proper scale. From then on, I used that scale for both villa and hotel. I built all 3 parts of the map individually and tested them as such, and didn't really find any problems. But once I put all of them together, the cracks have started to show. And it's because I didn't put enough love into the spaces between each of these areas. I have been working on a map update for Archipelago, which I hope should address the problems that current Arch has. Not only is each area physically closer together, but the pathways between them are less exposed and have more routes you can take. Hotel is completely gone, by the way. I absolutely hated the way that was designed, so hopefully with all of that, the map will not feel like such a painful slog to play.
Get out. Oi, get out. Alright, now you're invited to my house.
Mesa Monorail used to be a favorite of mine back in 2017, probably because it was the only map that ran well on my PC, but nowadays my opinion of it has slowly soured, and I think the main offender for why would be Fire Door. This whole area is just so exposed, with very little geometry for sneaky C4 plants. Only 2 super exposed entrances that people watch like vultures, and props that, whilst quite effective for eliminating the ground floor, are almost useless against anyone up on this ledge. The only reliable way I've found at wiping out people group camping this room is with a coordinated push with several traders, and I think you know how hard it is to find good help in this game. I don't really know what could be done to nerf this part of the map, but what I do know is that I really want it to be changed. It's just not fun at all to fight against as a trader, as it brings the round to a screeching halt, especially late game. Maybe sprinkle some props up on this balcony, or shorten this room so Pult and C4 are a little bit more effective. Or hey, maybe try add some extra geometry, like a booth here, so people coming from this angle have some semblance of cover. Hell, why not try lowering this upper area entirely? It would at least give people coming from the side the actual ability to shoot people up here. This is one of those parts that is just so iconic that it would seem alien to even want it changed, but frankly, I'm tired of playing 12 or 24 player just to come across this stronghold. If you have any good suggestions, try commenting them down below, because honestly, I don't know how to fix this problem. At the very least, can we change the layout of this area leading from water? It's such a common camping spot, mainly because it's so easy to just right-click anyone trying to climb up this ladder. And it's so large that C4 just isn't enough to flush out anyone crawling around in there.
Like, here's the thing. You're getting shot. Let me tell you the ultimate method to fix every problem with getting shot. Press this button, called the S key.
Yeah, pretty much.
Detective HQ is my least favorite map in the game because of 2 reasons. Tester is the meta, so every round I have to go there in case I become traitor. Because the longer I let the innocents test, the more likely I'm going to die. Pult is a good way to clear the area, and sniping from afar also works, but since there's one entrance, it's too easy for the innocents inside to keep track of what's going on. And sometimes we'll even stay inside the cave till the end of the round. Due to the shape of the cave, just hiding to the side is enough to basically force the traitors to get close. So every single round of Det HQ I seem to play always just revolves around this one corner of the map, and I'm frankly sick of it. Even if Tester got removed, the rest of the map isn't too stellar either. This roof is just a disgustingly easy spot to camp from, and the rest of the map is so exposed that there's no real incentive to go there. Even the interior is more open and exposed than some other maps' exteriors, which is a shame because some parts of Det HQ show signs of promise. You can climb this tree here as an alternative way up to the roof, and you can even walk along the trim of this building, which inspired Archipelago. I can imagine a remake of this map could turn it into something special, but as it stands right now, this is just as boring as it gets. And I'm not going to attempt to make suggestions on how to fix it because I basically want every single part to be changed. There's just no part to this map that I genuinely enjoy to play in.
The reason why you don't go out of mid on this map is because if you go to the right where the tea room is, there's like every indication, like traps and things everywhere that the tea can just do at any point they want.
Pretty much.
And then, but at mid, there's no traps. Just a tea teleporting on top of you, which you can camp. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do there?
Same story as Det HQ. A common trend with bad maps is that they are just exposed. If there's anything that future map makers take from this video, do not create wide open spaces in your maps, please. At the very least, ensure that there are ample countering opportunities. Take one look at the main lobby of Hellscape. The traitors have no cover. There's almost nowhere from which they can attack from without receiving retaliation. And even if they book it after sniping from the entrances, this bridge is too exposed and the tester room is basically a dead end. The only part of the map that is actually well designed is the areas around dining table, since the traitors have plenty of alternate paths to take and corners to escape around. If I was to rework this map, I would remove everything but this part of the map, and just redo them from scratch, taking into account flank routes and sightlines. If there's anything I want removed, at the very least it should be Tester. As again, like with every other Tester other than 67th Ways, it's too hard to feasibly get away with killing everyone here without people spotting you plant. It also doesn't help that the lava essentially makes Poltergeist useless. It kinda sucks that I even have to keep bringing up Pult and C4, but right now, apart from game passes, they are the only 2 really effective methods of flushing out large swathes of group camping innocents.
And there's no other way out of this room. Nowhere else aside from teleporting the tea out himself. Like, the tea can only teleport out, right?
Yeah. Or that door.
Then literally here.
Yeah.
If everyone remains out of the room, anyone coming from this door is just immediately suspicious.
The sightlines on Station 27 are frankly disgusting. There is so little cover on this map and literally no flank routes that it's a surprise that traitors even win at all. And to top it all off, it has a tester. This would probably be the worst map in the game if it wasn't for the one saving grace, and that's the sheer amount of props it has. Using a Pult on this map feels dirty, but as it stands, it's the only effective way to survive. It feels like these props were placed here as a band-aid, rather than an intentional design choice, and it doesn't help that the map creator himself isn't known for being too pleasant. I don't really have anything else to say about this map. If anything, I say just remove it entirely. We didn't need another dark hallway to the game, and especially one this bereft of anything remotely close to being called good level design.
Pretty much, you can just stay in there. People have just stayed in there the whole round, and...
Yeah, plant C4 in here.
If you teleport to bathroom, you can plant one in bathroom, cover the whole map. 2 C4s, bam, done. We're done.
Bam. Bam, map complete.
Terminal is an amazing map that, frankly, I don't know how it could be improved. 10 out of 10 map, no flaws whatsoever.
There isn't many sniping spots either.
Well, yeah, the option is you snipe them and then run for your fucking life the second they see you.
You snipe them, but like, if you snipe them from here, there is no escape routes, no secret tunnels, you're just in the obvious, so they're gonna shoot the first guy they see.
Diabeetus is one of those maps that goes through waves. For a few months it gets voted because it's funny, and then people get tired of how bad it is, and it goes back into hibernation for the next few months. This map is bad for the same reasons that the other ones are. It's extremely innocent-sided because it's 2 giant empty rooms with no cover. Even Pirate Ship, a part that seems like a good playground for traders to practice their stealth skills, is actually just an exposed camping spot. I'm not going to go into detail here because it's the same reason why the other maps are bad. This map is just too open. I can't imagine it being good without some heavy trimming or a complete overhaul with the same assets.
And then
now
we get to this map, which is worse somehow in terms of gameplay.
This map has the same problem as Diabeetus.
Except I think the term is, what the fuck did I just do?
I don't know.
Hurappaan is unique in that despite being literally the largest map in the game, unlike the other bad maps, it's not overly exposed. There's a density to Hurappaan that is almost admirable, and it makes some elements of the gameplay not feel as bad as it does in other maps. Despite the amount of rooms people can play hide and seek in, none of them are large enough to make it a thorn on any trader's side. The only real problem with this map is that it takes forever to get anywhere, which gives it the unique advantage that if Nalahan were to do a soft update, all he would have to do to dramatically improve it is just remove half of the map, or maybe even more than that. I have seen snippets of a potential update that he's working on, but I don't know if it's still in development, or even if it will be released.
I just realized how big the underground tunnels is on this map, because I was just looking through, and what's funny about this is, like, I'm just wondering, due to how the size of this map, how easy is it as innocents to just fucking keep running away?
Very easy.
Take Det HQ, remove Tester, and then replace the ladder to roof with a ladder to a tower before multiplying it by 3. That is basically what Fabrik is, and it is bad for the same reasons that Det HQ is. The fog at least helps to alleviate the sightline troubles a bit, but the warehouses themselves are even more exposed than the one in Det HQ. You could close in all the walls or even remove one warehouse and probably end up with a better map. But personally, I'd want the interior of the warehouses to be reworked entirely. One suggestion I have is copy Phantom Forces. Have like a wooden airsoft base or something inside here to give a contextual reason for why there'd be any cover. Or better yet, fill it with shipping crates or the like. Just something to break up the interiors more than this flimsy rack, which really isn't making economical use of the space available, by the way. I know Nalahan is a sucker for lore reasons, so if he wants, maybe he could turn one of the warehouses into a refinery, with giant vats and valves and pipes and whatnot. As for the outside, I would cut out most of it, or at least make it so exposed that nobody will ever want to go out there. These last 5 maps are maps that I personally don't think are bad enough to warrant any changes. I had originally given my thoughts on them, but that first script was over 50 minutes long, so I'm going to cut it a lot shorter here. The takeaway is that Compound, Snowfall Complex, Vista Overpass, Monsoon, and Santa Fe are some of the best designed maps in the game. I never feel like they are overly T-sided or Inno-sided, and that is why I vote them the most out of all. When Wastelands gets the update, I'm sure it will also join this list, and hopefully I can bring Archipelago up close enough to reach the standards that these 5 maps have set. I do want to go into more detail about what makes these maps good, but I've already had to cut out so much just to get the script under 30 minutes. Oh, and you may have noticed, but I bought a new microphone and fixed my OBS settings recently, so hopefully this video looked and sounded less like a mashed potato.
Charlie.
Sorry to disappoint, but it's only me.
Charlie. Oh, hi Cam. That's perfect. Cam, I just realized something. I need a funny clip to end my video because I've made that a tradition, but I haven't found any funny clips yet. And I noticed that every piece of recording that I've got so far, you guys were muted.
Oh.
Absolutely every single one.
You could end it with like a blooper or something going wrong during the other thing without any like audio concept, just fucking silent. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah, that works. How about, oh guys, look, it's a blooper. Oh wow, I died. Oh no, funny. Great, right.